Good morning. Marvelous misty morning on the Mouse River. Did you see it? Looked like ice flows, but I guess that was an optical illusion, huh? You Dutch people don't do fall or autumn, huh? You go right from summer to winter. Is that the idea? I trust you have already seen how helpful practicing together is, huh? In speaking about the physical practice, the body. The two questions came up that can really be helpful, huh? The first one from Peter about the eyes, huh? What do we do? Not open, not closed. But I trust you could see that this is a good way for the practice to be done with the eyes. How can the eyes come fully to rest? Well, try half open and try half closed. You're right, it can take a while to get used to. But once you do, you'll see, yes, that's what they would be doing. Yes, that's what the eyes do when they're at rest. Of course, when needed, you look around, red light, green light. Huh? And when you go to sleep, close your eyes, yes. But for sustained Zazen practice, this is the way the eyes naturally come to rest. And the same with Franz Joseph's question about the Kinhin. Huh? Simply watch the foot of the person in front of you. Huh? We are taking that practice now into a simple movement. Very important. We can't just sit here all day. It's not good for the body. So we balance the sustained Zazen with movement. Of course, we're allowing our legs to stretch. In that sense, maybe you can think of it as taking a break. But more importantly, we are carrying out the practice, continuing the practice in that simple physical movement, which is a perfectly natural daily thing that we need to do. Huh? Walking in a way that helps our mind come to rest. So I trust you can see how it's all related, it's all connected. Huh? Everything we do with the body, and this has been tested over centuries and centuries, millennia. Huh? The way we hold our hands, either informally, you naturally wrap the left hand around the thumb of the right hand like this, huh? Or more formally, the right hand and then the left hand, the fingers of the left hand on top of the fingers of the right hand, with the thumbs lightly touching. If you're sitting in full lotus, naturally right here would be your belly button or your navel where your thumbs touch. But of course it depends on how you're sitting. Huh? After we get through problems with the body, we will turn to problems with the breath, how to breathe properly. But this is very much connected with it because you're breathing from your lungs, of course, but you're using the muscles down here to deepen the breath. Huh? So we naturally have our hands informally like this or more formally like this. Either way is fine. But we don't put our hands here or, for example, in yoga, hatha yoga poses. Huh? We bring them together here. And when you do, you will see for maintaining that energy and not up in the head, but rather settled in the physical center of our body here. Placing our hands like this is very helpful. Of course, the way we put our legs, again, it doesn't have to be full lotus, but this makes sense. When you actually get used to sitting like this, it's extremely comfortable, and yet the back especially is naturally erect. It's not, of course you can hunch over, but it really helps with the butt pressed down and a little back on the cushion. Your back is naturally erect, so for long periods of Zazen, holding the body like this is quite natural. If you can't do it, half lotus, quarter lotus, Burmese with your feet flat, or sitting in seiza, as Peter here is doing, on a bench. You can stand on your head if you want, as long as you continue that practice. The mind can come to a stop at any place, at any time. The only way for you to really confirm that is to do it. Find out what works, what is the right posture for your body. And again, everything that is being done during the retreat, and even the way we have meals, the way we can take a break. Yes, take a break, rest. But all of it is helping the body, breath, and the mind to come naturally to rest. We will continue in the afternoon during one of the Zazen periods before the dinner, to go into this, any questions, any concerns, any problems with the body. And once we've finished with that, we can move on to the breath, and then eventually question of what we do with the mind. But now I would like to return to the first point I brought up about Gautama Buddha Shakyamuni stopping to respond to a question, or stopping to enjoy a misty morning. And as I said, not just physically, we don't walk anymore, but for everything to come to a halt, all the activities of the mind. Why? Simply so that we can see, really see, realize from the ground up what is here, what is in front of our face, what is under our feet, what is in the depths of our heart. And once you really realize that, you don't go chasing off, running off again. You don't need to. This is the basis of Buddhist and Zen Buddhist practice. I mentioned there was one time when Gautama Buddha did not stop. And it's a very suggestive theme to take up during the practice of retreat. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Well, in a sense, that's when he really stopped, sitting through under the Bodhi tree. But later, when he was out once walking, apparently he was going out on his begging rounds in the morning. Monastics, well, really not monastics, but people who have left home in ancient India, and to some extent today as well, they cannot make a living. They cannot grow their own vegetables. They cannot work. They cannot make money. So they have to rely on others for their food. So they go out what we call begging rounds. And so Gautama Buddha was out on a begging round once, as he often would be, walking at a regular pace, going to a nearby village to receive his food. And the example I'm using is one of those days. Huh? The background of the story is a bit bizarre, but perhaps not as bizarre as it sounds at first. There's a guy called Angulimala, which literally means a wreath or a garland, like a necklace of fingers. Very simply, he was practicing under a guru at the time of Gautama Buddha, and he was very good, a very adept practitioner. And it was clear that he was soon going to reach the same level as his guru, his teacher. The teacher and perhaps some of the disciples, there's different versions, but anyway, jealousy arose. The students spoke ill of him. Perhaps the teacher himself did not want this Angulimala, young disciple, too quickly to get up to his level. There are even stories in the later tradition about the guru had a wife, and Angulimala had made advances to the wife, or perhaps the wife had made advances to Angulimala. It's all pretty complicated, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the guru decided to give Angulimala, the disciple, an impossible task of one final practice, but it would be impossible, so that he couldn't get up to the same level as him, basically keeping him in his place. So he told the person who eventually came to be called Angulimala, garland, necklace of fingers, your final practice is this. You have to kill 1,000 people, and each person that you kill, you cut off one of their fingers, and you make a garland of their fingers. And when you have done that with 1,000 people, your practice will be complete. Well, good, bad, he was a faithful disciple of the guru, and he proceeded to do just that. This is in the Pali Suttas, perhaps a legend, but anyway. He went around and killed people, and cut off their finger, and made a garland which he wore of their fingers. So whole villages were terrified of this guy. He was a big, strong guy. He had these weapons, and he would chase after people and slay them, kill them, and then cut off one finger. He got to 999. One more to go. And guess what? There was old Gautama Buddha walking on his begging rounds, according to the sutta. Well, Angulimala had heard of this guy, the world-honored one, the all-enlightened Buddha. A great 1,000th finger, wouldn't it? So big, strong Angulimala starts running after Shakyamuni, Gautama Buddha, who is alone and just walking at a regular pace, going to the nearby village to receive his alms, begging. Gautama Buddha here doesn't stop. He continues to walk. Meanwhile, Angulimala, the harder he runs, the faster he runs, he can't seem to get any closer. And yet, Gautama Buddha is just walking at a regular pace. He doesn't stop, he doesn't run, he just continues at his regular pace. Angulimala runs and runs. He can't get any closer. So finally, Angulimala stops. And he yells, "Hey, you, world-honored one, stop! Stop!" Here is where Gautama Buddha doesn't stop. He doesn't run, but he continues walking at a regular pace. And now, walking, he turns around and he says, "I have stopped. Now you stop." Kind of a early Buddhist koan. Well, Angulimala, knows this is the all-enlightened Buddha. Whatever the situation, he would not lie. So he's now very confused. And he says, but I have stopped. He's not moving anymore. He stopped. He's not chasing Gautama Buddha. He stopped. So he says, but I have stopped, but you say I haven't. And you are still walking, yet you say you have stopped. What's going on here? Well, Gautama Buddha, still walking, but truly stopped, says, I have stopped all forms of craving, all forms of selfish desire. All delusion has ended. You have not. With this, Angulimala has a kind of a conversion experience. He realizes the truth of what has been said, and it says in the sutta, he became a disciple of Gautama Buddha. But the first point to be made clear, Gautama Buddha stopped in the most fundamental sense. It's not a question of not walking anymore or sitting for really long periods of time, as valuable as that is. Finally, the mind and all of its contrivances, all of its creation, must naturally come to an end so that we can truly see what is here, realize what this is. Then we don't go running off again. Again, it doesn't mean you can't move, but you move from here to truly come to rest. So this is the only example I've ever seen where Gautama Buddha on the surface doesn't stop, but because he has truly stopped, he actually is able to use that occasion to convert someone who, what would we say today, a serial killer, a mass murderer? Consider well what it is to stop and what it is then to move on. It's not a matter of dead stillness. But first, we must let this mind and all of its contrivances, all of its desires, all of its urges, everything, naturally come to rest. This is the point of our practice. Please feel free to stand up and stretch for a moment if you would like. We don't go around cutting off fingers, and yet if we look deeply into our own thoughts and actions, maybe there's a little bit of Angulimala in all of us, Zen likes to talk about we're all Buddhas, but you have to see we're all also a little bit of Angulimala as well. There's a expression in the Japanese Rinzai monasteries, literally a monk practitioner, a monk without kensho. Kensho is a term basically for awakening, although it's pretty meaningless nowadays. But originally it meant a genuine awakening. A monk without kensho, awakening, isn't worth a penny. It's worthless. He's not a real monk yet. A monk without kensho, awakening, isn't worth a penny. What they don't tell you is a monk with kensho isn't worth a penny either. But consider that well in the depths of your practice. What is it that we are seeking? What is it that we want to cut off and call our own? Is this perhaps itself a hindrance to genuine practice? Consider well. Huh? Another point to consider well is this guy, Angulimala, went on, according to the Pali Suttas, to become an arhat. He was released. He awakened in that very life. We'll have to look a little more deeply at that before we just say, okay, well, that was he just killed 999 people. We have to look at that as well, huh? Just as we have to look at our own actions, our own past, our own karma, so to say. Huh? How does that become fuel for the fire instead of a great barrier or impediment in our practice? Huh? Well, perhaps there's no better example than Angulimala. Huh? We will return to him tomorrow and the next days. But at any rate, you can already see, heck, if he could do it, I guess I could. If somebody with that much stuff that he has to carry around, huh? Having killed 99 people, if he could become an arhat in this life, well, consider well. Does anyone have a question or concern from out of the practice? Please feel free, for the benefit of all, to raise it here and now. Huh?